Board of County Commissioners acts as a quasi-judicial body when it hears requests for rezoning and conditional use permits. Applicants must provide competent, substantial evidence establishing facts or expert witness opinion testimony showing that the request meets the zoning code and comprehensive plan criteria. Opponents must also testify as to facts or provide expert testimony whether they like or dislike a request is not competent evidence. The board must then decide whether the evidence demonstrates consistency and compatibility with the comprehensive plan and the existing rules in the zoning ordinance, property adjacent to the property to be rezoned, and the actual development of the surrounding area. The board cannot consider speculation, non-expert opinion testimony, or poll the audience by asking those in favor or opposed to stand up or raise their hands. If a commissioner has had communications regarding a rezoning or conditional use permit request before the board, the commissioner must disclose the subject of the communication and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place before the board takes action on the request. Likewise, if a commissioner has made a site visit, inspection, or investigation, the commissioner must disclose that fact before the board takes action on the request. Each applicant is allowed a total of 15 minutes to present their request, unless time is extended by majority vote of the board. The applicant may reserve any portion of the 15 minutes for rebuttal. Other speakers are allowed 5 minutes to speak. Speakers may not pass their time to someone else in order to give that person more time to speak.
Good evening. Welcome to the zoning meeting Thursday, November the 7th. And is Pastor Richard Mall here? Will you come up, sir? It'd be so nice to have you pray over us tonight. And thank you.
Let us pray. Almighty God, you alone are the author of truth and love and life. We ask you to be with us tonight as we gather to determine how we can better serve the needs of our community. Grant each of us the humility to be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. Grant us wisdom, not just to seek what we want, but to seek what is best. Help us all to show respect to the law, to our constituents, to one another. All this we pray in the name of our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Nice prayer. We have a quorum. We're going to call this meeting to order. Commissioner Tobia.
Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have two sets of meetings, commissioners, that we need to get approved, September the 10th and September 17th.
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Feltner.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tobia. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. We're going to move into the consent agenda. Commissioners, I have some cards, so I'm going to go ahead and call the cards up first, if that's all right. All right. We have Mr. Tom Erdman, item F2.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to speak again on the Sherwood. This should be, I'm still asking for it to be delayed. I know everyone's heard about the flooding concerns, but I have greater concerns about the fire safety of the community. You look at, we had a letter from the MIMS Water Department saying we have low water pressure and we're at max capacity. And then looking at the comprehensive plan that we're going to be talking on later on, the MIMS Water Department growth from 2025 to 2030 is approximately 740 some people. Now, if you look at just Sherwood, if you had 600 homes there, assuming 300 or 3 people per home, that's 1,800. So you're already roughly 1,200 people, 1,100 people in the whole. And then that's not counting the development they're doing on 46, what they're doing in MIMS, what they want to do on Hammock Road. And so I've also talked to the fire department about this, my concerns, and they've raised concerns about this is a safety risk for the homeowners and our fire department. And I think we've had an election Tuesday, and we should wait till the new commissioners get on here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Ruth Amato.
Chairman.
Sir, thank you.
Is this on both consent agenda items, or am I just speaking on one right now?
You're on item F2 right now, ma'am. Oh, would you like to do both of them?
I was just going to do one and do the other one. I just wanted to make sure which one I was
We'll just go ahead and
speaking
do
on.
F2 and F7. Well, you can take a pause after that and jump right into the next one.
Okay, Sherwood first then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I know you guys have seen the same workflow reports that I have. We've all seen the same problems. We can act like we don't. But the utility department has issues, and it doesn't matter about the new pilot program that they just put into effect. They literally can't comply with concurrency unless you wipe potable water off of the comprehensive plan, which we're working on tonight. Besides that, I pulled a records request for the flow test for the fire department, through the fire department, and the fire department hasn't done a flow test for Sherwood Villas according to my records request. Meaning the work that needs to be done for pre-approval for this stuff has not been done. The cart has gone before the horse, and there's no reason to be voting on an item when the issues haven't even been worked out. You're putting problems on someone else further down the road to have to figure out. If the fire department doesn't have the pressure, if they can't confirm that it's there to be able to put house fires out when those developments come in, why are we approving it? That literally puts the citizens in jeopardy and our firefighters. I think that the citizens of MIMS and our county employees deserve better than that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Do you want to do F7?
Yes.
Okay.
Short and sweet. When you approved the Gandy Road project, you introduced a new higher density into that area that wasn't previously there. And I think that's shameful because now someone can come behind that issue and introduce that same density into another area until it gets built out higher than the future land use map ever intended for it to be. It was a sneaky way to bypass that. And I think that was shameful. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Sandra Sullivan, F2. Sandra Sullivan, are you, there you are. Thank you, ma'am. I couldn't see her.
Sandra Sullivan, South Patrick Shores, regarding the item for Sherwood. I looked up on your notification system on your county website to see if this was properly advertised. I could not find an entry. I've screenshot everything. I've printed it off to my computer, so I've well documented in case it shows up after the fact. In addition, I checked Florida Today newspaper for notice of the previous meeting. And so my point is, if you move ahead with a BDP and you have not done legal notice for a quasi-judicial hearing, and that was not noticed, and that's on you, then you're opening yourself up to problems later on. So you may want to just delay the BDP until you verify that you did cross your T's and dot your I's, and you actually did do a public notice of a hearing for that, that change with all those variances on that item that are contrary to the comprehensive plan that you'll be talking about today. This should never have been approved. And it's very irresponsible to the neighbors around there and the flooding concerns that are documented in the staff reports on the issues therein. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Katie Delaney, item F2. Ma'am? Hey, Miss Katie.
Hello. All right, here we are again. There's many problems that are here with this development for Sherwood, and I'm simply asking that you guys table this for today because, like we've said time and time again, the studies have not been done. We don't have the fire department has not done the flow test to make sure we have enough water if a house goes on fire in that area. The capacity needs for our water, we don't even know if we have enough water for future development for the amount of houses that are being built. This is all being pushed through extremely fast, and we all know why. The entire neighborhood the entire North Brevard has made it pretty clear how they feel about this community, and I'm simply asking that this gets postponed so that we can make sure that this, if this project goes forward and goes through, that it gets done properly to make sure that all the residents are covered and, you know, that it's going to be okay for everybody. Thank you.
Mr. Travis Moore?
Good evening. Travis Moore, live in Sherwood. I'm not going to repeat a lot of stuff you've heard over and over again because apparently it's not getting anywhere. But, you know, the water situation, my main concern, I didn't bring it up last time, but one of the issues we have with the flooding is not necessarily the new development. It's the fact that our flood zones, our ditches, are not maintained properly. And what really has me concerned is at the last meeting, Commissioner Steele mentioned how far behind that budget is to get things done, and they were talking about South Babcock. And I thought to myself, well, wait a minute, if there's not enough money to take care of their problem, what are they going to do with our problem when it hits? Because I think everybody agrees there's going to be water flowing down through Sherwood. And you're just in total denial if you don't believe that. So how can we get reassurance or assurance from the county commission and from the department that we're going to get our ditches maintained and prevent the flooding we have now? I mean, how do we do that? Is that your responsibility? Do we go to the staff and beg? How do we get that done? The best way to get it done is put this thing off, get the current problem fixed, and then go forward with the development if that's what you want to do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Who? Miss Judith Baker?
I don't really have anything to say. I'm just looking for approval of my binding development plan.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you are an applicant. You're good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, dear. Chris Ramafadetti? Thank you. Applicant as well. Wonderful. All right, commissioners, that's all the comment cards. I have applicants. Otherwise, do we have any comments? Is there anything you want pulled before we approve the consent agenda?
She would like to speak, if possible.
I filled out a card.
I'm sorry, ma'am, what's your name?
Faith Swanson. I scribbled it pretty fast because I wanted to get it in.
Okay. You did. You have it for J2, though.
I thought this was J2. I'm sorry.
It's
That was what
not.
I asked, and that's what they said. So that's why I put down there.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be doing this with you right now, but did you want to speak on item J2 or F2? Come on up. I'll fix it for you. Come on. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Feltner.
All right. First of all, I didn't even know that Sherwood, I came for something else, but that Sherwood is up for approval. Like Sandra had said, I also went to the floor today, and I did not see it in there, as well as to the website. Did not see this, about this agenda being on this meeting, or about Sherwood approval. As you guys know, my name is Faith Swanson. I live in Titusville, 32796. And the proposed development surrounding our property is going to go all around our property, and they're going to put a road 5 feet from basically smack down against my house. And so basically, it doesn't have enough adequate stormwater drainage. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is not going to happen. Or putting more in for taxes to fix this problem isn't going to happen, because it hasn't happened throughout the county. It's a no-brainer. The proposed buffers on Pod 1, which, by the way, all of these, the whole development should have went through the state, not through the county, but they divided it up so that it could go through the county, Pod 1, then Pod 2, Pod 3, or how many pods they're going to do, and how many densities they're going to change, and all this other stuff, underhandedly stuff that they're trying to propose. And of course, I'm upset. You would be too. It's basically raping our land, the whole community. It's interwoven. This is not like a piece of property right next to Sherwood. It is interwoven into the community, a community that's thriving. Yes, it's old, but there's a lot of old properties in the state of Florida and in Brevard that thrives very well. And we are paying taxes. We're paying our share. I pay more than our share. Okay, so the buffer is a huge problem. We gave them 7 different variances, and we're trying to change the zoning, and then then we're saying, oh, a man can do what a man can do with his property. Well, yeah, we're giving him everything, and then we're saying a man could do what he could do with his property. How is that fair? The other thing, it destroys the natural beauty. You know, Sherwood, wood, get it? Woods. And, you know, Robin Hood and the whole 9 yards, that's going to be gone. The whole community is going to be detrimental to this community and actually to North Brevard, because we're opening up the hatch on the water system, and the flow test hasn't been done. Just a multitude of problems that are not fixed now. The infrastructure's not there, and it's going to be a huge problem. So I am begging you to put NO, please. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It's already been approved, so what we're doing tonight is putting a binding thing on it so that certain things can't happen to the community. As you can't talk out there, guys. Read the civility thing. I really want you to speak your mind when you come up, but we're going to be respectful tonight. And what's going to happen is they start trying to put through certain plans to their operation. It's going to have to run through so many things. I don't know if they're going to pull it all off or not, because there's a lot of hurdles to still get through, even the water flow test. There's still a lot to go with that. So anyways, this is just doing the binding development plan. Commissioners, what's your pleasure for the consent agenda?
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Commissioner Tobia. Second by Commissioner Goodson. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. We're going to move into public comments. I have Bishop Paul Martin. Did I miss something? No. I'm good, okay. Hi, sir, how are you?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the commission. My name is Bishop Paul Martin. I reside in West Melbourne, Florida. I'm here to speak because, among other things that I do over 49 years as a minister, I've become a voice for the voiceless. I'm here today to speak to the character, both as business people and as individuals, to Mr. Kenneth Brown, my associate who is with me, and Ms. Joanne Bauer Lee. They tried to reopen the old Billy's restaurant in Spessard, Holland. And there were some things that happened that were of none of their control, and the whole thing turned into a disaster, to be perfectly honest. Mr. Brown has a copy of a book that he gave y'all that contains all of the information. Mr. Brown and Ms. Lee are two of simply the finest people that I, as a minister and a bishop, have known. I am with them 3 times a week, every week, for over 2 years now. I know them very well. They're good people, they're hardworking, they have a wonderful, honest, generous heart. I'm asking this commission to look at their situation with clearer eyes and open hearts and do what has to be done to help them to resolve the situation. Until there is a solution, you will see my smiling face every time that you have a meeting until the problem is resolved. I thank you for your time.
Only a good friend, sir. Is that your district? Yes. That's right. Okay.
Madam Chair, I was just
I'm
curious.
sorry, sir. Did you
No, I just, before we get into those items, I thought maybe there were some easy ones we could,
I still got 2 more public comments.
oh, I'm sorry.
You
I
got
thought
it.
I'd-
We'll move them around. Tell me
Okay,
which
no,
ones.
I hear you. Thank you.
I have Cheers on the Ocean. I think this is supposed to be you, right? Mr. Brown, okay, we just put it in the wrong spot. I gotcha. So I say that's a very unusual name.
Cheers on the Ocean
Yeah.
Grill. Greetings, Commissioners.
Hi, sir.
And thank you, Paul. Thank you very much for those very kind comments. I was here once before, and I did deliver a book, and my name is Kenneth Brown. And Joanne Lee is the proprietor of Cheers on the Ocean Grill, which was unfortunately closed by a termination of a lease by the Parks and Recreation. After 6 months of arduous, bust-our-butt typing, trying to get the place prepared and ready, both busting our finances at the same time, we were putting these signs out called Opening Soon. For 6 months, we were inundated with people from the community all looking for the Old Billy's to reopen as Cheers Ocean Grill, because we have 2 other restaurants that people totally enjoy, and they were really looking forward to it. And when it was one day we went, the doors were locked for no particular reason that we could understand. There was certainly no effect to public health, safety, or welfare, but the joy that we had hoped to bring to the community was terminated, which we feel was very draconian for the answers or the reasons that were stated. We would like that if the commission could possibly somehow use persuasion or the communication necessary to get in front of Parks and Recreation again, for them to revisit, to at least give us a hearing of why they terminated the lease a week before our opening. Gave us a few days to get all our equipment out. The place was infested with rats, lizards, spiders, all kinds of rubbish and garbage all around the yard. We were accused of cutting sea grapes, which we did not. We have a transcript, an affidavit from a court reporter from the person who was a homeless guy. He was a former veteran, PSTD type guy, who wanted a job, so every once in a while he would come and ask for food, and if I could give him some work, so he had the job of doing some pots and pans and cleaning up some of the rubbish. But for some reason he didn't do it. He got angry. He sent these voice messages saying that he was going to close our business by cutting sea grapes. And it's all documented. Joanne had nothing to do with it. I had nothing to do with it. And the only other thing we did was something called an improvement. We were responsible for all the ventilation, all the fire marshal, all the approvals. Well, I did, without her approval, I put in a vent for a washer and dryer, which was a 4x4 that had no effect to the building, and that was the 2 reasons given for terminating our lease. So we would like, if I could, have some persuasion to get in front of the commission, Parks and Recreation Director again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You're a very kind man. Thank you. Ms. Sandra Sullivan?
Good evening, Sandra Sullivan. So the last time we were here, there was a conflict with some plans with Lori Wilson Park. And I think the people spoke very loudly on that issue. I've done records requests to the state pertaining to the federal agreement on this. And certainly the plans that you had are not permissible under those grant agreements. And so I've posted those online. We had a rally with a very terrific turnout called Hands Off Lori Wilson Park, and with tremendous amount of news coverage of the support for this remaining a public park only, public use only, so that's a picture of the turnout. My favorite sign was "No means no." So then we had a Driftwood meeting, and of course Driftwood puts out a press release the night before, "Oh, we've withdrawn our thing." Well, not really, okay? So that was the turnout. I just want you to know what the public turnout was to your stinkiness. When we were here during the meeting, the optics of this isn't really good. I'm told that that's your husband that was sitting with the lobbyists and the developers for Driftwood. I want to go back to the records requests that I have done and seeing that this started in 2017 and in 2018 with Mr. Tobia's name on some of these documents. There was a plan to hand off Lori Wilson to a developer to run that site, okay? In violation of the federal grants and the state grants that govern that site. You guys don't seem to care what is lawful, what is the moral thing to do. You just do it, you damn well feel like it.
Please don't cuss in here, okay? You're doing so good so far.
It's called freedom of speech, ma'am. And when you do,
Hold on, just pause. I'm going to hold your time, okay? Just for a second. I'm going to hold your time.
Really?
I'm going to hold your time for a second and figure out how to do it. We're going to really try to be civil. You can say anything you want to say.
My freedom of speech is.
Hold on just a minute. Mr. Richardson, are we allowed to like contain what kind of, if we use vulgar language in here or not?
Yeah, you have to remain within the bounds of civility, Ms. Sullivan. Come on, just state your message.
You can say what you want to say, but listen.
I challenge you that under freedom of speech, I can speak candidly. I can't use language like swear words and things, but I can speak candidly. This was slimy as hell.
You can say that stuff,
Yep,
but if
thank
you
you.
would, we have
So,
children
well,
and
you-
grandchildren watching this, so
Okay,
if you would just do
you're
it, it'd be
using up my
great.
time, so I'll get a few
We'll give a few
seconds
more.
extra.
You can.
So when I go through those documents, there was a plan to have Driftwood run that site, that they would put their parking system in, that they would have a restaurant, an ice cream shop, a concert place, et cetera, et cetera. You know, and then there comes up, you know, conversations with Commissioner Feltner about that I presume Driftwood, because he's talking about Melbourne wants to annex unincorporated Brevard as well, which is the Paradise Park next to Driftwood there. So is the big plan here to use our public parks for amenities for hotels and basically screw over the people? Maybe it's time you start listening to the people.
Thank you. Commissioner Goodson, I was going to ask you if it was coming back. Please, sir.
Your comment about screwing over the people. They offered a deal to Cocoa Beach. Cocoa Beach then they pulled the deal because Cocoa Beach didn't like it. Then they came back and said, hey, okay, I can't, no, you know more than everybody else, Sandra. There's no need for me, there's no need for me to
Ma'am,
talk
you
to
cannot talk out there. You have to wait. Don't, I'm going to give you a warning. We're not going to do this here with me doing this. We're going to be civil, and we're not going to talk from out there. You guys are welcome to come up and talk, say whatever you want to say. But I'm going to really ask no cursing, and that if we would just keep this civil, there's a great pledge of civility up there. It really works, and it's too great of a community to argue in the garbage. So I'm sorry, sir, go ahead.
No, there's no comment, because there's no way to comment. It's just, we don't know nothing. We're accused of everything. We're the ones that are doing everything wrong. You know, you can't even laugh with a straight face. But anyway, let me tell you a story about this whole thing. I told Westwood and their lobbyists, there's no more dog park. There's not going to be one as long as I sit here for 2 more years. But I'll tell you an interesting story. I got a call the other day. From the mayor of Cocoa Beach, one day after the election. Oh, I have a great idea for the dog park. It's amazing what day an election will cure stupidity. You follow me? Now he's all for it, but he's also now elected. But I got beat up of doing illegal deals. Commissioner Tobia's been accused of illegal deals, and all I think he was doing was offering the park, if the county agreed, for them to take it over. But meaning Cocoa Beach. All right, so all that being said, let's find something else, Sandra. There's no dog park. There's not gonna be a dog park. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. We are moving, Commissioner Feltner, you had an idea to move things around, but I do want to mention that item H8 has been tabled. I don't see any cards here for that, so I just want to tell you all up front. Commissioner Feltner,
Madam
which
Chair,
ones?
it's been withdrawn.
Did I say it wrong?
Yes.
Okay, it's been
been
withdrawn.
withdrawn.
Thank you. Commissioner Feltner, which ones do you recommend?
I only was thinking that there are a couple quick ones in here, even H9, I'm fine with, that's in my district.
Okay.
If the applicant's here, we could, probably get him out of here in a reasonable amount of time. You've got some other ones, so
All right.
that's your
let's-
prerogative.
Let's start with item H9.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item H9, the Strict Wrath Developer LLC requests a change of zoning classification from BU-2 to AU. Application number is 24Z00026. Tax account number is 2601599, located in District 4.
Commissioner Feltner, I do not have a card on this. You're right, it is quick, so what's your pleasure?
Is the applicant here?
I don't have a card.
Okay, I'm fine with it, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve item H9. Second by Commissioner Tobia. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. We're going to move into item H1. Which is interesting. I don't
Good
have
evening,
cards
Madam
on
Chair.
that. Thank you, sir.
H1 is the second public hearing for amendments to Chapter 62, Article 6 zoning regulations to add a new conditional use classification, accessory dwelling units, and specifying conditions thereto. So since the board last heard it, there's been two significant changes. The first was to incorporate the board's motion to address the potential for a property to be split after the conditional use permit was given for an accessory dwelling unit, so that the accessory dwelling unit and the primary structure would be on two separate lots. So there's now a provision to prevent that. In addition to that, there's now an express prohibition for using storage containers for accessory dwelling units. Other than that, it remains as the board saw at your last hearing.
Thank you. Commissioner Feltner, good catch on that. Commissioner Goodson, good addition to that as well. So what's y'all's pleasure on item H1?
I'll make a motion for approval, Madam Chair.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Goodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Second by Commissioner Feltner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. We're going to move to item H2.
Item H2, Madam Chair, is transmittal of a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment 24 LS 00001 regarding the Brevard Barrier Island BBIA as a new element to the comprehensive plan under the state coordinated review process. This is a two-step process that will be transmitted up to the state for their review and comments. They will issue an ORC report, which is objections, recommendations, and comments. Based on that, the county may adopt at a later date with those changes or whatnot. So this item went to the LPA, and with that, and part of their motion, they included an Exhibit 1, which was included in your packet. Staff's recommendation would be to move forward without the inclusion of the Exhibit 1 in your motion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, I have some cards. I'm going to call those first. All right. Ms. Sandra Sullivan?
Good evening again. So the area of critical concern for the South Beaches area came as a result of a meeting here where a vote was taken under board reports as presented by Mr. Tobia to upzone South Beaches. And so this bill was the consequence. The whole intention of an area of critical concern is to stop upzoning in an area that is a very critical environment. So South Beaches is our largest sea turtle nesting area. It is very critical. We've lost Armand, which had double the amount of loggerhead nesting. We're now the largest loggerhead nesting in the world, and survival of that species, and we also have 50% of greens nesting in Brevard. This is actually a core aspect of our tourism. What is wrong with this, and what you brought forward, is you have not listened to your advisory board for P&Z, who unanimously voted to respect the intent of an area of critical concern. The area of critical concern is to restrict intensity and density increases. And that board recommended the removal of the PUD section, which is a giant loophole in this one that you've brought forward, and staff did not respond to what the P&Z board unanimously voted on to remove that section. And of course, because, you know, that's what this board wants. That's what D3 wants. And there, again, this is about ignoring the will of the people. Now, if any of you came to that meeting, the BBIA meeting, you would have seen hundreds of people showed up of we the people, but no, you have to respond to we the money and ignore what the intention of an area of critical concern is supposed to accomplish and ignore the will of the people in the process. Shameful. Not surprising, is it, for this commission?
Stacy Gallagher?
Hi there, I'm Stacy Gallagher.
Welcome from Gainesville.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, the policy coordinator for Sea Turtle Conservancy. We're based in Gainesville. So the Florida legislature and the governor approved House Bill 1489 because they recognize the importance of the Brevard Barrier Island Area and realize that the current efforts to protect it are insufficient. So with this creation of this area of critical state concern, the county was required to create new, stronger requirements that will meet the guiding principles in this law. Unfortunately, after the public comment periods and overwhelming feedback from the community, what is currently the draft, what's going to be transmitted, falls short of meeting the law's requirements. And at its best, unfortunately, what is going to be moving forward is simply a copy and pasting of what currently exists in the comprehensive plan. And at its worst, in Section 12, it proposes for increases in intensity and density within the BBIA. So to ensure that the county is creating requirements that fulfill the guiding principles, numerous changes need to be made to this draft to account for the expertise that you've been given, the hundreds of comments made by the public, and they need to be incorporated. So as was already mentioned, the area's globally important sea turtle populations are faced with a lot of threats, including poorly managed beachfront lighting and coastal erosion due to sea level rise. Even this very year, an adult sea turtle was hit and killed by a car on A1A due to problematic lighting. So it's definitely a very urgent issue that we believe this appendix, this document, can help to address. And it can be addressed by updating the county sea turtle lighting ordinance language to match the state's model lighting ordinance, and also requiring the county to proactively enforce the ordinance will go a long way in preventing something like that from happening again. Then this is within Policy 2 of the appendix. We also recommend that Policy 2 provide further clarity on what types of hard shoreline armoring are prohibited in the area, just so it's very clear what can and cannot be built on our beaches to further cause erosion. Policy 8, upland resources, the language should be amended to ensure that the county, again, proactively enforces all of the policies to prevent destruction of critical upland vegetation. And then, as was mentioned, Policy 12, which dealt with increasing density and intensity, should be very heavily, basically take what the LPA recommended and remove that section. So we urge the county to implement changes from the community, subject matter experts, and the state to ensure that it is meeting the guiding principles of the area of critical state concern. This received unanimous support from the legislature, the governor approved it, so it's now up to the county to do the work and write the language so that it improves what already exists in this super important area. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Mr. Goodson.
Now, are you a state agency?
We're a nonprofit.
Okay, so you offer suggestions to the governor, correct?
To the governor?
Or to the state of Florida?
Yeah, we definitely try to offer our expertise when we can, yeah.
Are you working with staff, our staff?
Yes.
Okay, and how's that being perceived by you?
We provided our comments. The natural resources staff, we have a great relationship with them. It just, in every draft that we're seeing, the recommendations and changes are not being implemented. It's essentially just the same draft that's being presented. So I think we're definitely open to working with folks. We're ready to provide our expertise, as are the other groups here. We want to help.
And you're telling me, or us, that is a state mandated law?
Yes, so in the area of critical state concern, a requirement is that the local government, so the county, has to enact
And that
changes.
is a state law, right?
Yes, it is a state law. And the area of critical state concern, the local government has to make sure that the guiding principles in that language are being fulfilled.
Is there a time that this can be put into effect, like the next 6 months, the next 2 days? What is the time limit?
So there's someone from 1,000 Friends here who is more knowledgeable on the timelines of these. The county has stressed, and the consultant that you're using, that area of critical state concern hasn't been passed in 40 years, so the process is very nebulous, but yeah, I can get that answer for you. I don't know it right now off the top of my head.
Can you tell me, is every county that's on the water or the shoreline, are they going through the same stuff?
I believe there are not many areas of critical state concern, but the Florida Keys has one, the Green Swamp, Apalachicola. So yes, there are communities that are effectively implementing areas of critical state concern.
Okay, thank you. Just stay right there.
Questions?
Frank, can you comment on what she's saying, or someone?
Billy's been handling this. I'm going to let him address it. Sure. The underlying state law, I believe, that she's referring to was the legislation that enacted the area of critical state concern. This document that the board is voting on is designed to address that very thing. Now, if the board were to transmit, the state agencies will have a chance to review, and it'll come back to the board for adoption. So we believe that it's consistent with the guiding principles that the state established, including that for sea turtles. If we are wrong, the state agencies will tell us so.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Let me ask you a question real quick. So we've done this a few times through the years. So when you get comments back, they're still able to make additional changes through time periods because it's fluid, correct?
The board will have the opportunity to make any changes when the comments come back from the state. If in fact the board's not happy, you could make additional changes and resubmit it to the state. So
wonderful.
It's a very fluid process.
This can keep changing and
The
evolving.
final adoption will be by the board after that process is completed.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Mr. Craig Wallace?
Good evening, Commissioners. Craig Wallace. I'm representing the Brevard Indian River Lagoon Coalition this evening. I'm from Satellite Beach. I do understand that this is a multi-step process, and there will be opportunity to address some of these issues previously. Our concern is that all the public comment that has already been input has not been forwarded to you, apparently, or has been deleted for some reason. So we're really concerned that even if the next time around when we have this opportunity to make comments, are they going to get incorporated in? So we don't understand why all of the important public comments that really do differentiate this area from any other community along the beach, this area of critical concern, why those elements have not been integrated into this proposal that we're forwarding onto the state. So it just seems like the comments have gotten lost somewhere.
Mr. Wallace, have you been talking about this a little bit in the meetings that you have for the lagoon?
Not specifically to the lagoon, no.
Okay. All right. Just checking. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Blair Witherington?
Good evening. Blair Witherington. I am a research scientist with a conservation nonprofit, In-Water Research Group. My expertise is in sea turtles and beach ecology. I'm also a resident of Floridana Beach. I've lived there on the South Beaches for 27 years, and I've done research on the South Beaches since 1984, I think. So I'd like to speak in support of attaching those public comments that the previous speakers talked about to the draft amendment that you transmit to the state. It's very important to attach that input because the draft amendment before you, as you've heard the speakers say, has not really benefited from all that public comment. There were quite a few edits and comments provided by the community, including 300 of us that attended that introductory meeting to introduce the critical area designation. And about 150 residents provided comments to the draft amendment, and more than 1,000 residents answered the county consultant's questionnaire about the plan amendment and the critical area. And I should point out that all of this input is well informed. In addition to living within the affected area, we are property owners, business owners, realtors, as well as PhD oceanographers and PhD coastal biologists. We're certainly experts on local living and local quality of life issues. And there are a lot of us, and we care a great deal. But I think it's important for you to know. And we know the deadline to submit the draft to the state was short, and that the present amendment makes some progress, which is why we support forwarding the draft, but only with the community edits and comments attached. Even if this input is perceived to be too detailed for a comp plan, it was structured to meet the intent of the state law. And so we hope it will be helpful for future deliberation of the commission. And thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Kim Dinkins, I think you're the expert out here, right? 1,000 Friends of Florida from Tallahassee.
I will not claim too much expertise, but I will let you know what our thoughts are. Again, my name is Kim Dinkins. I'm the Policy and Planning Director for 1,000 Friends of Florida. We are a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that advocates for saving special places and building better communities throughout the state. Before I joined the organization, this goes to the question about how this was established. 1,000 Friends had the honor of working with the Sea Turtle Conservancy, Barrier Islands Preservation and Protection Association, local residents, and the legislators to establish the BBI area of critical state concern. We are concerned that, as written, the proposed amendment doesn't meet the legislative findings for the area, in particular that allowance for density and intensity bonus policies in Policy 12 is inconsistent with the legislative finding that existing density limitations on the island result in decreased public tax burden, and it conflicts with the legislative intent that the land use management system that's created in the plan promotes growth in accordance with the existing capacity of public facilities. In more general terms, as others have mentioned, the copy and paste approach for creating the new element from the existing policies doesn't clearly establish that the development standards in the Brevard Barrier Island Area will be any more stringent than they are elsewhere within the county. The element should contain direct language that requires best management practices to eliminate light pollution for sea turtle protection and names those sources within the regulations. It specifies greater protections for dune ecosystems, including requirements for revegetation in certain cases, requires rather than suggests that certain stormwater retrofits and wastewater projects meet higher standards, requires rather than just states support for nature-based solutions and low-impact development practices, establishes a date certain for evaluating the coastal control setback line and evacuation times, and above all, prohibits density and intensity bonuses until such time that those adequate infrastructure is there. We understand that staff is working on new ordinance language and updates to other ordinances, and that new development regulations will follow this comp plan amendment. And that exercise of cataloging all the relevant policies was a good one. But the comprehensive plan is the county's roadmap for growth upon which specific ordinances are created. It has to be the goals, objectives, and policies that are established within the Barrier Island Area of critical state concern have to reflect the status as one of the most fragile and endangered coastal ecosystems and communities in North America, worthy of protection from further harmful impacts, and that the safety of residents of the island are at the center of any development decisions. We hope that you'll take my suggestions and the suggestions of others who have spoken here tonight under consideration. Our staff has worked with local governments throughout the state, and we stand ready to help if there are any ways that we can engage.
Thank you. Commissioners, that's all the cards. I'm going to close the public comment part of this. Do you have any comments? Okay, do we have a motion or?
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank staff. I mean, I think I think the rudest thing up here said was that this was a cut and paste job. There were countless hours that went into this. I mean, it was pointed out that whether I'm for it or not, this is something that was arcane and hadn't been tried in 40-plus years. So to say that we had cut and paste from other areas is just patently incorrect. So like it or not, there was tremendous work that went into this, not only listening, but bringing it forward. We're between a rock and a hard place here. Many of the requests made would put us in some very tenuous positions when it would come to Bert Harris legislation out there. And I'm just going to go back to what the governor said less than a month ago. Our governor, I can't believe the governor that signed this, but says people had their priority. They have a right to do what they want with it. No question. The reality is people work their whole lives and work hard to be able to live in environments that are really, really nice. And they have right to make these decisions with their property as they see fit. It is not the role of government to forbid them, to force them to dispose or utilize their property in a way that they do not think is best for them. I think it's a good question how the governor can have these type of sentiments and support a bill like that. And I think that puts staff in a really tough position. I think that puts the state staff in a tough position as we transmit that up there, but that is a burden that is going to fall on two commissioners up here that will have to look at that in the near future. So I just want to tell staff I greatly appreciate the time and the effort that went into this, not only staff, but the legal side of this. There's a ton of angles that needed to be considered. So I'm going to make a motion for the approval of this to be transmitted, and thank everyone, not only staff, but the public for their involvement on this.
Okay, I have a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Goodson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. When this comes back with the comments, Commissioner Delaney, soon to be, you're going to work real hard on this, I'm sure, and pull in a lot of information with the other commissioners. That'll be a good time to make some changes and tweak it. So, is Commissioner Atkins here too? Hi, how are you? Welcome too. Can y'all stand up for a minute so we can just, if you don't mind?
Madam Chair, since you recognize those two ladies, can I just say real quick, if you don't mind?
Please.
With Commissioner Altman coming here, I think he was the sponsor of the language, so certainly he can have some input on this as well.
Wonderful. And you guys were putting a lot of, I'm putting my family's trust in you. Thank you for taking the job. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move to item H3.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item H3 is a transmittal of the Evaluation and Appraisal Review based amendments to the Comprehensive Plan, application numbers 24 LS 00002 to the State Land Planning Agency, Florida Commerce for review under the State Coordinated Review process established by Section 163.318 parenthesis 4 Florida statutes. Again, when this went to the LPA motion included Exhibit 1, which removed the density bonuses that are already in existing FLU designations. Staff's recommendation would not to include this Exhibit 1 as part of your motion.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, I have comment cards. I'm going to do those first. Okay, Mr. Tom Erdman.
Okay, so the name is Tom Erdman. I live at 4791 Squires Drive. For this comprehensive plan, the magnitude of changes that are trying to be pushed through here is huge. And I think the citizens need ample time to review it and comment on it. So the first thing I'd ask is that, we don't vote on it now. I know you have a requirement to deliver something to the state here in a little bit, but I think we should wait. Again, let the new commissioners view it, look at it. This plan, how the changes, is all in favor of the developers. It's a 100% developer-friendly change. And I'd like to point out an article. Medellin, it's Medellin, second largest city in Colombia. years ago, their temperature was rising more than outside the city limits. And so they started a green project. They started green corridors through the city. And within 3 years, the temperature of the city dropped 2 degrees Celsius, and they're adding more trees. They're hoping to bring it down another 3 to 4 degrees Celsius by adding more green space. This comprehensive plan does just the opposite of that. You know, some of the changes you're trying to push through here is a Con 3.3 Section I-4. You know, under your Class 2 water, you're reducing primary structure buffer protection from 50 feet to 25 feet, doing the same thing along the lagoon. Then you're also the floodplains, you know, changing it's between 100 years to 25 years. You're removing the limit of 2 homes per acre. It's totally removing it. And then from 25 to 10-year floodplain, you're removing the 1 home per 2.5 acres. For 10-year, you're removing the requirement for 1 home per 10 acres. Then for your aquifer recharge, this one really kills me, is a type 1 aquifer. You are removing the requirement not to have septic tanks in that area in a type 1 aquifer recharge area. A type 1 aquifer recharge area, by definition, means that nature gives very little water treatment to the water when it percolates through. So again, you know, I'd ask you that you do the right thing for the community and for our grandkids and people that live here. You know, do what God's will is and leave this place a better place than it is now, not a worse off place. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Ruth Amato?
Good evening again. What can I say? Wow. It looks like it got almost completely trashed with all the lines written through. I mean, potable water. I was able to write a five-page report not very long ago and calculate how much potable water each home needs, what projected use might be, all off the comp plan. But now we've just going to take it all out. Public's not going to have any way to be able to watch what the county's doing if they so choose to. Who's gonna, is there any oversight left? I mean, the floodplain, we're already flooding on the St. Johns River. Way worse than what we did 20 years ago. You guys know this. And you put a loophole in that you increase the density on the floodplain, but if you're building PUD, then we have different restrictions that aren't as strict. That's okay to have. With the insurance crisis in the state, the flooding that people in North Brevard are experiencing at unprecedented levels these days, is it really wise to just keep destroying what little resources we have left? This is a plan, but it's not a plan for North Brevard. And but I'm not sure what else you would expect when you hire the services for someone to do urban development on your comp plan. Because I think you got exactly what you ordered, but it's definitely not for the citizens. It's a developer's dream. It really needs to go back to the drawing board. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Sandra Sullivan?
Sandra Sullivan, South Patrick Shores. So you guys are leaving. I guess this is your last hurrah to put something through that is so egregious. It's unbelievable. This is almost like a complete rewrite. I read this document. I've been weeks angry. I want to just bring up some documents. So I want to start by saying Florida faces an exodus as residents declare insurance crisis final straw. You can go, there's tons of articles on our insurance crisis, the number one thing. And yet, the way this comp plan is written, you're going to make it much, much worse. This is so short-sighted. This is for the developers, for we the money, and not representative of we the people. I want to read just one line from this one article. An insurance crisis that has sent premiums skyrocketing and caused carriers to flee coastal states like Florida and California is spreading. So I asked for a records request or a legal opinion, and I've given you that from the Commissioner's Office regarding the Barrier Island. And what I see in here, because I live on the Barrier Island and we are very vulnerable to coastal storms, is the removal of the language prohibiting density increases for affordable housing. Isn't it interesting you made affordable housing at 140 AMI now? You're just going to make Florida unaffordable to live. Okay, so the right height, you're just not following the law. So I also gave you a copy of a letter from Jana Williams from the state that specifies that you have to conform to the state law for evacuation for your LOS. I don't see an LOS in here, a level of service, but it is defined by the state. It's 16 hours for Category 5. Do you know what we are for evacuation? Yeah, let's roll our eyes. 61 hours to evacuate the Barrier Island in a Category 5 storm. And you want to put more density on the Barrier Island? You want to put more density on Merritt Island, on North Merritt Island? You want to remove the protections of the wetlands? Oh yeah, let's just have more flooding. Here's a couple pictures from the last storm, Milton, just a few pictures of flooding. We don't care about it. Come to Florida and do all your development. We don't care if you flood. We don't care if you can't afford your insurance. But let's make all these changes to the comp plan and let's not care. But that LOS for evacuation is defined by state statute 163.3 for 16 hours in a Category 5, and you're not following it. There's so much more I could say. This comp plan is so stinky.
I think it's Faith Swanson. Okay.
Again, most of us bought into what we currently have with the comprehensive plan, the laws, the ordinances, and the shall not laws. And they seem to be just make up these changes in this comprehensive plan where you basically remove density limits from the flood plan. So it's going to detrimentally affect the unincorporated Brevard County as well as so many others, particularly where I live in North Brevard. We're already experiencing, the growth on 46, we've been there for over 30 years. And the recent growth, I should say, with Loves, and now we're putting another development behind it, and we've got more developments going on 46. It is a death trap. It was a death trap before. I've had an accident there with a semi, the whole thing, and it's gotten worse. The lights, I avoid it now. I avoid it. I go down to Garden Street to come back around, or go to the north or south. I don't use that exit. You can't see. I've talked to many people to try to get the hedges cut clean and put a mirror there. I've given them all kinds of suggestions, and nothing's done. And so far as the flooding too, I've asked, I don't know how many times I called, when Rocky was at the North Brevard Road and Bridges, he cleaned out the gutters and things like that where that goes underneath 95, the culvert or whatever. Nothing is being done. The accidents, they're not taking care of things. So, but the bottom line is, we're putting this through without a lot of testing, with a lot of things, and it is going to be detrimental. It's a sneaky way to get, it's a loophole for the developers to put more density on the properties. And I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know how Brevard is going to look. I don't know what we're doing. I really don't. I don't understand this. I don't know where the common sense is. So this seems like it's insanity. And I'm very concerned, very, very concerned. So I hope you vote no. Thank you.
Did you send me emails recently about some things up there by 46? Was that?
I have not, but right behind my house is where the helicopters come to
Will you-
evac people.
Will you send me something and I'll help get started on some of those things, especially if there's bushes growing?
I've emailed North Brevard.
Will you email me?
Sure.
We had one lady do it, we were able to take care of a few things, but if you let me know, I'll make sure nobody's at risk.
Well, there's been accidents, I've asked them to cut on the hit, like I said, rocky.
Send
but
it,
anyway,
send it to me.
And
I'll jump on
46
it.
is a huge,
I don't
huge
want
issue.
anybody dying, jumping
Okay.
on it. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
If this passes, and, would it automatically increase density?
Commissioner, the framework that is being proposed would not systematically increase any densities on properties. What we've done is we continued that language throughout the document that was previously approved in our current comp plan as it sits right now.
Now, is it true that on Merritt Island, and especially North Merritt Island, but the only place on Merritt Island that you can have 37 units would be Myra's land? You're not going to go to North Merritt Island and do it, correct? I mean, unless the board approved it, of course.
So within Myra, not North Merritt Island, but Myra, there are provisions in our current code to allow for that provision. Yes, sir.
Correct. And if I'm not mistaken, there's been in 2 years, one development on Myra land in Merritt Island. And that's where behind the mall, by the veterans, the apartment complex.
Yes, sir, that's my understanding as well.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioners, I have no more cards. Do you have comments or? Ms. Faith, I already did yours, right?
I know, but there was a comment made, I can't
We can't, no, you can't. Ma'am, I'm sorry, you can't. You just had public comment, and then we hear the information. Ms. Delaney, did you have a card? Miss, y'all go, I would like to bring Commissioner Delaney, well, soon to be up here, because I think it's good for her to, is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. And if you'd fill out a card right after, it'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you,
will.
ma'am. One concession here.
Thank you.
And after I'm closing it, you're on.
I'm just going to bring up one thing because this is personal to my home. There is massive amount of development that's being allowed in this version of the comp plan in Canaveral Groves, 6 or 5 homes per unit, and that will totally change the whole dynamic of my community. And I was told a story, Commissioner Pritchett, about some pink boxing gloves, and I'm asking you to please take them out and fight for North Brevard one last time. Thank you.
Commissioner Delaney, I don't usually do this, but they're going to send it up with comments, and I know you're going to, tighten all those things up. You're going to have time to study it out and maybe make some changes when they come back with the comments, because I know you're a bulldog. So I
Yes,
have
ma'am.
great confidence in you doing that.
Question.
Sir.
Are you referring to the City of Cocoa developments in West Canaveral Groves?
I'm referring to FLU 1.9, FLU 1.10.
I have no idea what FBL is, but, are you referring to the development City of Cocoa's putting in?
No.
South, oh, you're not there?
No.
Okay, where are these developments going in Canaveral Groves?
It's not developments, this is the comp plan changing.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
Question to staff. May I have another question to staff?
Certainly, I'm enjoying your questions.
Well, staff, will you tell me, is there been comp plan changes to what's in effect in Canaveral Groves in this new proposal?
Not to my understanding, we did not make any systematic changes to densities throughout the county, specifically the Canaveral Groves.
It's literally right here, I'm reading it.
I don't know what you're looking at.
Okay.
Maybe it was something that was already in there, so it might be something that could be changed later. I don't know.
After the meeting, I can get with Ms. Delaney and we can figure it out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sir, I'm sorry you can't talk from out there. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So commissioners, we have all the comments in, and do we have a pleasure of the commission? Did you have a look on your face, sir?
Jeffrey, it's Policy Flu 1.9, it speaks to a residential 6 directive land use designation affording a transition in density between higher urbanized areas and lower intensity land uses within the Canaveral Groves and South Beaches small area plan study areas. It's a land use designation. It doesn't in itself increase any densities or anything of that nature.
If I may, I believe that's to recognize what's existing residential
Exactly.
6 directive out there.
Oops. Okay, so, Commission, what's your pleasure?
Commissioner Tobias, what's your pleasure?
Well, it seems like most of the comments were dealing with density, and, which I understand. I may not agree with, but I understand, but it also, we're not dealing with density in this submittal. So I think that those there may be other ones, but those comments are largely unfounded based on what we have. So I would be inclined to vote up on this one, given the testimony that we've heard from the individuals as well as what actually is happening via staff.
Is that your motion?
You want me to make the motion?
I didn't know.
Okay,
I
I'll
thought
make a
it said
motion to
we-
approve, I'll make a motion to approve
I'll second.
submittal of the comp plan.
Motion and a second. Quick comment. After this is done, it comes back, there's still a half a year to make changes.
Yes, Madam Chair. So this follows the same process for, this will be transmitted up to the State of Commerce. State of Commerce will review the comp plan and will issue an ORC report, and with all the other state agencies reviewing it as well, and they will send down a report with any recommendations, objections, and comments, and then it'll come back to the board for adoption with or without those recommendations.
Okay, and there'll be new commissioners here, and you guys, I hate throwing this word out to you, but you might want to do a workshop and figure out what you want to do with the input, and then figure out what you want to do moving forward. And God bless you guys on that. So we have a motion and a second to send it up. Commissioner Felton, you good? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. We're moving on to item H4.
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman, you're ready to move forward?
I am, sir.
Okay, item H4 is Michael and Benita Osborne request a change of zoning classification from RU 1-9 to TR3. Application number is 24Z00038. Tax account number is 2409628, located in District 1.
And Mr. Osborne, I'm so sorry. If I'd known it was this quick, I would have put it through. Mr. Osborne, you here? Commission, I'm good with this. It's in my district.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Second by Commissioner Tobias. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thanks for patiently waiting.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving into item H5.
Sorry about that.
Item H5 is Julia Bertot requests to change the zoning classification from RU 1-9 to RU 1-7. Application number is 24Z00039. Tax account number is 2300349, located in District 1.
Okay, I have a few cards on this. Do I have the, hi, how are you? Do you guys want to come up and open it? And then I'm going to let other people speak, and you can, Mr. and Ms. Bertot, right? Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do the other comment cards. I'm going to let you go last. Is that good? Okay. I have Mr. David Boland. Sir?
Yeah, my name is David Boland. I represent my parents who can't be here. They have property adjacent, I guess, to the property you want to rezone. Their concerns are, I guess, whenever you reduce the width of the various lots, it's going to set a precedent moving forward where new developers may buy some of the older lots, and at which point they could potentially subdivide those at a smaller basis, which is going to negatively impact their property values. Absent that, they're concerned about more septic systems in the area, potentially polluting the river. And for that reason, they oppose the rezoning.
Thank you, sir. Michael Botridge? I'm saying that? Okay. Ma'am, you're going to be right after him. So, thank you. Thank you, sir.
You just want me to start?
Yes, sir. Just move up
Your
your
name
name
and-
and
I'm Michael Bedrogi. I live at 6845 River Edge Drive. So I'm directly to the south of the adjacent property. Our property lines actually conjoin. So what I just heard was actually part of the largest part of concern is going to be water and septic. We're in county. We have no water. We have no septic. It's a very difficult and expensive place to live. If you guys want to all run it down our street to make this a little more manageable. The other thing is that it's on the geological survey, it actually has a waterway that goes directly into the river, so that there was talk of building a stilt house at the last meeting for the approval. Not only would the property lines be narrowed so that it's closer to our home, but it would stick up and start at 8 or 10 feet up above and then be a huge sail on a narrow lot. And I have photos of Irma where the entire roof with the truss was in the road from that storm. We had our trees down. There would be a lot of liability factors. So if they could show in their building plans how they're going to pay for the refurbishing of the where the area where they took the trees out, and now it's lost about another 10 or 12 feet up there of ground. So there's serious ecological issues. There's water, there's the river, and then of course there's the liability for safety. That's about it. There's several no's. I mean, it's a dangerous place to build. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Cynthia?
Hello.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Cynthia Bedrogi, and I've lived in the house that's to the south of the adjacent property in question for the last 21 years. So I've seen a lot of changes on River Edge Road. Also, I don't know if the board is aware that the husband owns a dilapidated bar that the property should be condemned. That also adjoins his wife's property that's next to our property. The bar has not been open in many years, and it's an eyesore in the community. The neighbors have told me on River Edge, many of them, some of them quite elderly and can't be here, including my father, who's 97. He lives beside me on River Edge, and my brother lives to the further south. Anyhow, we have lived there many years combined, and it's a complicated area. This is not a simple yes or no. I'm very concerned about the waterway with the septics. We are on well, and my septic, I don't see how they're going to stay away. If they shorten they're allowed to build on that 50 feet, how they're going to stay far enough away from my septic and my well. Also, over the years, that property has eroded substantially because Mr. and Mrs. Bertot have not maintained their property. It wasn't until this last year, and really, I put on a blinders to a lot of stuff, but they started clearing the land, and he came to me, and many offers have been made to him over the years to sell that 50 feet. So this is not a financial hardship to them. I have 25 feet on my side of my house that has not been built on, that was combined with my house in the last year and a half, that my son was willed by my father. He sold it to me and it was combined. Anyhow, I made Ed an offer of I think it was $120,000 for the 50 feet. And he just pretty much shrugged his shoulders and laughed at me. I know over the years, my father offered much money to them to sell the 50 feet. We weren't even going to build on it. We were just going to clean it up and maintain it for the dolphins and the birds and the wildlife. We have tortoises there. We have red fox. We have dolphins that bring the babies to us. I have pictures of all the different animals in our area. It's ecologically challenged right now. I've seen a drop in the number of dolphins in the area and wildlife. Anyhow, that's another issue that's on my mind because I think that could be a natural spring also located on that piece of property. So I want improvements. That's not what I'm saying. I'm all for improvements, but at the expense of who? My house now, after 21 years of living there, is worth a fair bit of money. We have maintained this home through many storms. The roof that my husband was talking about that flung during the hurricane was from a different house down the way, and it landed in our road. So if they're given approval for a stilt house, it better be able to withstand over 150 mile an hour winds. I've been in the house when we've had over 130 mile an hour winds. And so I can just tell you that a stilt house on property that's sliding into the river is not gonna suffice for the building requirements. Also, there's this idea of the bar property. If they wanted a house, if that was their true intentions, they would combine their properties. They would build a house of good size. Sorry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Berteau, if you want to come up. Jeffrey, Mr. Jeffrey, so if we change the zoning, they can only put a house on it, correct?
The difference in the zoning classification is there's smaller setbacks and smaller lot width requirements between.
It's just that 16 feet, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So the current zoning requires a 66-foot wide lot. The proposed zoning would allow for a 50-foot wide lot.
So somehow it just got inconsistent with what we're using.
Correct.
So, and then the area there, they're going to have to put a septic tank in because we don't have sewer, correct?
Based on our staff report, it says that water and sewers, they have access to the city of Titusville.
Oh, okay.
So they'll, when they're coming in for their building permit, they'll assess that, and if
Okay.
it's available, they'll make them connect to it.
Okay. But you can both come out and speak one at a time. I have 2 cards on you, so. Thank you, sir.
You want to talk?
Go ahead.
Basically, you know, if you don't change this zoning, we won't be able to use the property, we won't be able to build a home. We feel like it does kind of follow the comprehensive plan. It's just changing one residential to another.
And you're building a home on it?
Mhm.
Because that's kind of the zoning you're putting on it.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's it. I mean, if you have any questions, she said a lot of stuff, and I feel like a lot of it would be addressed later.
It
But,
will.
you know, so I don't know if there's any questions you guys have or anything else I need to say.
No, Commissioners, it's my district. I think it's a good project. So if I can have a motion to approve it?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Tobia,
Second.
second by Commissioner Goodson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move to item H6.
Item H6 is Solavita Land LLC requests a change of zoning classification from RU1-9 to RU1-11. Application number is 24Z00046. Tax account number is 3017131, located in District 5.
Do not have Commissioner Steele here, but I've got one card from the applicant, And I don't know what you guys want to do, but it looked like something that I would approve in my district, so.
I think I understood that D5 was okay.
Okay.
With their items tonight, so I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tobia. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passes 4-0. Okay, moving into item H6.
Mayor Manorino Family Revocable Living Trust requests a change of zoning classification from RU 1-7 and RR-1 to all RR1. Application number is 24Z00041. Tax account number is 2802503, located in District 5.
Okay, Commissioners, I think that's about the same thing.
Yeah,
so-
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Feltner, second by Commissioner Tobia. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passes 4-0. Moving into item H9.
We did it. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
I have no cards on it, Commissioner Feltner. Did I do something wrong?
No, we
Oh.
did 9 earlier.
Oh, yes,
That
we
was
did.
when I was moving to
That
the
was-
front.
So hard to get good chairs these days. All right, we are done with the regular business for tonight. Yeah? And we have no new business, no more public comments, so we can move right into board reports. County manager.
I have no report.
All right, county attorney.
I have no report, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have Commissioner Goodson.
Well, I would say this, pray for Florida State, but it ain't gonna help. So I'm now pulling for the Gators.
Ooh,
Madam Chair,
yes, sir.
isn't Florida State playing Notre Dame? There's not we're rooting against the entire Catholic faith? Is that what you're asking us to do?
Are you Catholic? I didn't know.
I pretend to be. Goodness gracious.
He's willing to try.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Tobia, are you going to do your vice chair thing?
Not on zoning meetings, Madam Chair. I've got no
Okay.
report.
Okay, very good. I do want to read one thing because this just came out, and I can't help it. I just have to read it. Robert Kennedy Jr., who's going to be working with Donald Trump, on January 20th, the Trump White House will advise all U.S. water systems to remove fluoride from public water. Fluoride is an industrial waste associated with arthritis, bone fractures, bone cancer, IQ loss, neurodevelopment disorders, and thyroid disease. President Donald Trump, thank you for that. And I just had to say so. All right.
Kidney stones in there? No?
Pardon?
Kidney stones? No, I'm kidding.
Probably. I got a whole book full of stuff, by the way, if you ever want to read it. So you guys, we're going to call the meeting closed. God bless y'all. Have a great evening.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.